Hey, this is Jaken, and I'm the owner of Jaken Finance. And today I'm going to go through our one of our most popular fix and flip programs, and I'm going to show you an example of how much money you're going to keep in your pocket if you qualify for this program. If you have any questions, though, you can reach out to me at the number below this video, wherever you're watching it, or you can go to www.quotethisdeal.com. Okay. So the program I'm talking about here is no out-of-pocket origination at closing, meaning we'll wrap the origination fees into the loan, and no payments during the loan, meaning they're all due payoff. So essentially, what we're acting as is, we're acting as a partner on the deal with you. We're sharing in the profits, another way to put it. Now you might think, oh, it must cost too much, and it's like, well, the par interest on this is 10%, and I think if you're an investor doing flips, you'll see that that's still pretty competitive and even on par with the with the other programs you might be using. And on top of that, origination is typically 3 to 4% of the loan amount. Again, it's higher than one, of course, but there's also a cost to not having to front that cash, right? So you can consider that an additional fee to pay to borrow that money. Okay. If you balk at that, this program's not for you. If you want to keep the amount of cash we're going to go through, then this program's for you. So I'm going to go through a recent deal that we just closed. The purchase price was $295K. The rehab was like $274 and some change. Okay. So their total cost, I'm just walking you through this so you can see, and don't mind me on this, but their total cost was $569. Okay. They didn't have a lot of experience, but they had enough. So what we did is their down payment was, I don't remember the exact leverage recorded, but I know their down payment was 75 grand. That's what I do know. Okay. So the total funded amount is this minus this. Okay, this was their loan amount, 494, and that looks about right. Okay, so now if you were going to come to closing with, let's say you weren't doing this program, we'd typically be at 2 to 2.5 points. So let's call it 2%. So if you were to come to this with at closing, we would hit you for, you'd pay 10 grand in origination at closing, and then throughout the course of the loan, let's assume you held it for 6 months, and we're going to go with 10%. Okay, so if that's 10% simple interest, it's half of that over 6 months, so we're going to call it 5%, and your payments would be, okay, so total out of pocket during the course of this loan, if you were not using this program, would be these two items. Okay, 35 grand. Okay, so 35 grand to borrow this money, get this deal done, and then obviously, their back end, just as an FYI, their back end ARV was like 850. It was really good. Okay, so that's what you'd be paying to borrow these funds, closing fees, and interest throughout the course of the loan, assuming a 6-month hold. Okay, now we're going to do the same. We're going to take the loan amount, and we're going to go 3% times the loan amount. Okay, so you're paying an additional 5 grand. Got it. And it's still the same hold time, right? Interest rate is not going to be higher. Oops, sorry. Equals. Okay. Now, 5 grand more. Sure, got it. Okay, the cost of capital. But what isn't the case is that this 40 grand, this 39,520, actually comes out of the back end, right? So assuming that ARV holds, you're actually you're just going to net the difference at closing. So instead of fronting this full cost, you pay a little more. Totally understood. There's a cost to not having to bear the risk. Got it. But you keep 35 grand in your pocket. And that 35 grand, guess what, is like another down payment on another flip. So instead of worrying about how am I going to scale and make payments, you actually just can keep scaling. And our exposure limit on this program is like 4 million. So it's like you're fine. Okay. So long story short, this is informal, but I wanted to show you kind of a breakdown that it doesn't really cost you that much more in the grand scheme of things. I mean, on this particular deal, you're paying out of the profits, you're paying 0.5% of the profits to bear none of the payments. You're paying 0.5% to keep 35 grand in your pockets. So I don't know. Either way, call me at this number, submit a deal, quote thisdeal.com. We'd love to work with you. We're very competitive and we like to make deals work. Give me a call.